Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we are helping the world experience what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing authors of a new book that we have out. This one is called Transformative Leadership, Self-Mastery for the New Voice of Business Success. And before you meet these authors today, I need to give a shout out to our lead author, Jill Austin. Jill, thank you so much for your big mission and vision for this book, for the topic, and for gathering such a stellar group of expert master teachers in leadership. You guys, get ready. This book is going to take it to another level for you. I feel like you all are redefining leadership in some of the best ways. And this book excites me. So that big thank you to Jill for really being the leader of the leaders and saying, hey, we need to do this. So get ready to hear from some of the authors today. Camille Strickland is a healthcare strategist who drives change and empowers professionals to make meaningful, solution-focused decisions in business. I also have Danny Fell here. He's a senior vice president with BVK, healthcare marketing veteran and startup founder and investor. Jean Doherty coaches small businesses to launch and people to bloom in the direction of their dreams. And Mitzi Andrews is an author, freelance developmental editor, and creative guide. I can't wait to talk to you all today. Okay, Camille, you're going to start the party off. So tell us a little bit about the why behind this leadership chapter for you.
Yeah, well, I wrote chapter 23, which is Curiosity is Your Superpower, Questions That Transform Teams and Work. And when Jill brought this project to me, I started to think about my career journey and what I thought was, had been the most impactful thing, kept coming back to this idea of curiosity and questions. And so my chapter really explores how curiosity isn't just about asking questions, it's really about creating a space for deeper understanding and connection. And I find that that is not just a way to lead teams more effectively, but even in our personal relationships can be a really powerful tool. And so I had a lot of fun writing about this and how I've used it, and also how I recommend others think about questions in a more powerful way.
You know, I think curiosity is not only a superpower, but I call it a ninja move of awareness, because when you can pause, there's the first step. Mm-hmm. And, the habit is to react. Or, give us more about that. Why is this so important? The pause and the curiosity.
Well, I'll lean into the making space for others. I think that when you are solving problems, whether in work, life, perspectives are important. And I think for a lot of people, starting there is the way to think about curiosity. You can't really create space, do that kind of meaningful work without the pause. So this idea of, my perspective, I understand where that comes from, but what about this person's that I might learn that might shape the output of this differently, is something that really excites me. And so I think the pause is important, but it's really about what comes after. It's about giving room for somebody else to share their perspective, to find the commonalities, to learn something, to go on an adventure of sorts. And if you think about curiosity as the ninja move, to your point, it's this idea of you're going on an adventure every time you ask a question. So it's my way of framing it, thinking about it, and who doesn't want to go on an adventure? So
definitely. I would imagine you'd agree that it's paired pretty intensely with active listening after you ask. And yeah, do you want to say anything about that?
Ooh, active listening. I think the word pause for me, it makes me think of this idea. It's something that I think a lot of us might be afraid of. If you've ever been in a professional setting where, if the meeting has a pregnant pause, everybody starts to panic a little bit behind the scenes, and then the next person or the first person to talk, you're hoping they come with something insightful, or they wrap up the awkwardness of it. For me, the pause and the active listening go hand in hand. you're getting ready to listen to what someone else has to say. You're getting ready to receive. And so I think a big part of active listening then becomes, talking less, yes, of course, is a big piece of it. But I think the more important piece is what comes next. What's the next question you're going to ask? I think part of that is showing interest. Part of active listening is showing interest. And so the follow-up questions to that tell somebody that you're actually interested in what they're talking about their perspective. And I think that's also, to your point, very important in how we think about curiosity and how we use it.
Thank you, Camille. Thank you for saying yes to the project. Thanks for being here. And thank you for kicking this off today. So, Danny, you're next. Tell me a little about the why behind this chapter for you.
Yeah, well, so my chapter is chapter 18, and it's on paying it forward, mentoring to level up your leadership. And it really is rooted in this idea that mentoring helps others, but it can make you be a better leader. And so, like Camille, when I was thinking about my career trajectory, I thought about all of the people who influenced me, who helped me along the way, the mentors that were really instrumental in that. But I went back to one who, if you look at my trajectory, was probably the most impactful. And this was a woman that I worked for in an internship in college. I had pivoted out of engineering school that I was failing in to sort of find my place in where I wanted to be in career-wise. And she just was so instrumental in not so much coaching or teaching as much as just inspiring me to look at a particular industry, to think about a particular career path, and then helped me to make introductions, to create opportunities. And so I credit so much of that back to Christine and the work that she did with me in that internship. What's really cool is, as I read the other chapters in the book, how many of them mention mentors. The chapter may not be about mentoring, but they mention a mentor that was influential in their lives, or how they've mentored others. And I think that is testament to the power of it, and how much it is important to what we do as leaders in giving back, whether it's our own employees or people who are coming up in their career, or people outside the industry or outside your particular career area. So I'm a big fan of it, a big champion of it, and I see the power of it, again, to help others, but also to make us better leaders.
Did you actively seek it out at first, or did it just kind of plop in your lap?
Yeah. So in terms of the mentoring of others,
either direction.
Yeah, great question, because I think a lot of people probably fall into mentoring in a couple different ways. They have a particular skill. I give the example of maybe somebody who's really good at woodworking or really good at fixing cars, and they want to share that with others. Or oftentimes they've been mentored themselves, like me, and have always carried that with them through their career, the impact of that. I've actively sought it out in the last few years because I work with some founders and startups of companies, and I'm trying to help them think about how marketing applies in their business. And so I find myself mentoring them and taking on that role, sometimes informally. And that's a point I make in the chapter, that you don't have to have a formal mentorship program. You can do that informally as well.
There's a thing with mentoring that I'm paralleling it to actually a martial arts journey, where we talk a lot about masters are always in beginner mindset. And so when you are mentored, you're learning, you try to be coachable. That's like one of the best qualities is, you're learning from that person. And then when you mentor other people, though, do you think about that? Like, what am I learning? I think that goes in both directions.
No, I think that's super important. And if I'm not mistaken, you've done martial arts and yourself, Laura. I think that it's as much about what you get out of the process as what you give back. And so one of the things that I suggest in the tool at the end of the chapter is that you spend some time in that relationship talking about what you're getting from the process, and it's a two-way conversation. I think sometimes we think mentoring is all, I'm telling you what to do or I'm telling you how to do things, but I think it's just as important for the mentoree to give feedback to the person who's the mentor, to say, you know, here's some ideas for you. Here's some things that maybe you're getting out of this process as well. So it is a two-way process for sure.
Danny, thank you. Thanks for saying yes to this and being here today.
Thank you.
I love that idea of that reciprocal giving, reciprocal energy, reciprocal give. I used to talk about this actually being a healthcare practitioner as well, literally hands-on healthcare. I was a physical therapist. It was my first career. And amongst us, we would always talk about that reciprocal gift we would be getting from the clients we were serving. And when that energy exchange was happening, it was awesome, beautiful, amazing, big energy, right? I love that so much. All right, Jean, you are next. Tell us a little bit about the why behind your chapter.
Yeah, I'm very excited about our future and the future of leadership. And so I was honored when Jill asked me to write my chapter, which is chapter 25, The Cage of Not Belonging, How Inclusion Propels Success. And I feel there's so much creativity that's required of the future in our optimal possibilities and what's possible for the future, that inclusion is what really brings creativity. When we learn new ideas, perspectives, broaden ourselves as wide as we can through working with the most unlikely individuals that you might work with, or someone you don't have exposure to, there's a wonderful collaborative process of creativity that's going to propel success in the future.
So if you don't see that happening, how do you start it to happen within your group or your community? How have you done that?
So what you're asking is, if in my current workplace, I don't have the diversity that propels the creativity, how might I bring that in, either to the workplace or through volunteering or connecting with the community? And for me, it's been travel, doing a lot of traveling, and really being ageless in terms of my learning. You can learn from little children. You can learn from all these beautiful generations of individuals with different perspectives and new views. And by staying in touch and collaboratively, without any top down, I think is my greatest learning from being a leader.
I love that you brought up kids, because I have written whole blogs about the fact that my children have been some of my biggest teachers. And you have to have an awareness practice that allows that that thought, that belief. Otherwise, you're doing the other thing, which is thinking as the parent, you are the one that knows everything, right? And I've seen people behave in both kinds of ways. What else do you want to say about that with kids?
Well, I would say if you look at typical leadership books or ways I learned in university, a lot of times they're written for something akin to, the Roman Empire, or, get a new idea from an old book. Yet I would say, if you want to go farther back and look at villages that succeeded for millennium, everyone had a part, everyone belonged, everyone had a role, including the children. And that kept them successful for, hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of years. So it's a delight. It's a delight to see how, and this makes life more fun, and leadership more fun, and work more fun, is finding new perspectives that make you laugh, or that, again, the broadening can be fun with kids. I've worked with kids, and I've worked with certainly with the Girl Scouts. And I think that type of leadership that I learned from the girls in the troops and, the kids, 5-year-olds. I felt like if we can get 5-year-olds to collaboratively get along at school, because they come from their fiefdom of their home where they are the king or queen, and yet there's all kings and queens when they go to school for the first time. If we can get them to be collaborative and get along, then we've got world peace probably ahead for us.
That's a fun way to think about that. You also made me think about, it's interesting what's coming up, but you're talking about inclusivity, and I'm thinking about loneliness, which is right now so, it is an intense topic for so many people after these last several years we've all been through. Would you just say something about, like, what about just your neighbors, your friends, and, maybe not thinking so much about corporate setting right now, but what about just human to human?
Yeah, I think one of the avenues that we have, a little bit of, shout out to Zoom. I joined lots of, joined a writing group, started writing for the first time during my lonely time.
Yay
And
for writing.
I know, and look where I am now. And every single person in that writing book has published. I'll be the last one. And I think it's interesting how in where I live, a lot of people have those houses where you just drive into the garage and you never even see your neighbors. And when we can reach out in our community, either through a formal organization or just directly, helping, again, a child learn how to ride their bike, or the richness that's right next door to you in a neighbor who might seem different than you, but has a lot to offer for the empathy of your heart, which also is an expansive experience.
Very. Thank you, Jean. Thank you so much for saying yes to this and for being here today.
You're
So,
welcome.
Mitzi, you ready? Tell us everything. Tell me your why behind this chapter.
Oh, goodness. Let's see. First, yes, I want to thank Jill. I didn't think that I fit in this with the leadership portion of it because my business is so new. It's a 1.5 years old. And when she asked me to write the essay, I was like, well, I'll give you what I can give you, and I'll let you decide if you want to put it in or not. So when I wrote Authentic Transformation, Impact the World, Let Your Soul Out to Play, which is chapter 14, I looked at it in terms of my journey, my inner journey, my outer journey, and how it has impacted people. And the key point that I pulled out of it was play. How do I make this fun? Because I got so focused on the goal, getting there, that it became just cumbersome and inauthentic. And when I was reading other people, reading books about business, it was like, okay, I'm understanding that this is how they did it for them, but this doesn't feel authentic to me. I need to find my path. And the way that I found it was tuning into my little girl inside myself, my little inner child, and asking her what she wanted. And all she wanted to do was dance. So I started dancing. And the more that I danced, the more free I felt. And the more free I felt, the more things just slowly fell into place. And the puzzle didn't become, 2,000 words. It became 4 simple pieces that I was able to put together. And here I am.
So I love that you talked about dancing being one of those ways. Okay, so we have listeners, and this word, this phrase, be authentic, right? Your authentic self. This is like a hot topic, seems like a lot in all of these kinds of themes, and dancing is really interesting because I think it's one of the key ways that we are very courageous in ourselves, just putting our moves out there, right? Singing, dancing. So we're in the work environment. Let's just say we can't sing or dance, too bad, but let's just say we can't pick those two. How else are you authentic in that environment? Can you think of an example?
One of the best ways that I'm most authentic with my employees, with my patrons, with the people that come to me and ask, how can you help me? Is with my words alone, my ability to write with them, my ability to teach them how to write for themselves. That is the most important and also the most difficult part of teaching writing. Because it's so nuanced and it's so careful. I mean, to lead the reader into where you want them to go, to feel the way you want them to feel. It has to come from the heart. It has to come from the soul. If it doesn't, then it's not authentic. And you are the only person as the writer that can determine, that does determine how you write and the way in which you write. And mentors and curiosity and inclusion, all of it. It's a part of it, everything. We're all one, ultimately.
Well, you know, I'm a fan of the writing, so I love what you're saying about that. And I love what you're saying about coming from the heart. Mitzi, thank you for being a part of this in your unique, very unique way.
Thank you. Yeah.
Huge thanks to all four of you for taking on that challenge of putting that vulnerable story in the book so that our readers could get to know you a little bit. You took that challenge, you were brilliant at it. And then there are some master teachings about leadership in this book that you all are going to really, really enjoy. And maybe everything will change, right? Maybe there's something you haven't learned yet that will change everything. I think in each chapter for somebody, there is that bright of a golden nugget. And this is life-changing stuff. This is amazing awareness. So let's get into this next question with Danny going first. What the heck is transformative leadership anyway? Well, how do you define that?
Oh gosh, I think I struggled with that a little bit at the beginning in talking with Jill and trying to parse out like where her head was in terms of what she was looking for in the book and what she wanted it to be. One of the interesting revelations for me was that at the end of the process, and I was sharing this with one of the authors the other day, was that I almost feel like Jill sort of opened the door a little bit to see what came out of the process as opposed to directing it completely. And Mitzi, you kind of alluded to this, being open to sort of what happens and what occurs. And I think that's really powerful. And when you think about leadership, I think there is this notion that you have to control everything, you have to have everything done a certain way, organized a certain way, when in fact, I think the really good leaders that I've seen in my career, that I've worked for, that I've watched from a distance, are those leaders who are open to the process and open to how people come to it and perform and create. And they aren't trying to micromanage or dictate all those little things that happen. And so for me, transformative leadership is that notion of being more open in the process to what the path and the outcome is, as opposed to trying to manage it really at a fine detail. Doesn't mean you can be completely hands off, but I think we can learn a lot from the chapters in the book about how you can be more open and not so controlling as a leader, and how that is really not only transformative but also creates a lot of success in new things. That's what it was for me.
I love it. I love the way you kicked that question off. Okay, Jean, you're next on this one. So, we're all going to want to say ditto, right? But like, you're going to have this unique way of expressing it for you. How do you define it? Oh, Jean, let's get you unmuted.
I think
There
it's
we
a
go.
beautiful time to be a visionary right now. There's so many opportunities for being a catalyst for what our world could be. What if we loved our jobs? What if we loved everything about going to work? What if we loved our community? And this is something we can create, and we create it through being transformative. And it starts with us, and it starts with, maybe being a rebel, maybe changing things up a bit. And this is the exciting purpose that I took from transformative leadership is where do you want to be a year from now, and how can you really shake things up in a way that progresses the opportunities for the future?
I just got to rewind to what you just said. What if we loved everything about going to work and our jobs? Like, yes. What else is possible, people? I love that. All right, Mitzi, you're up next on this one. How do you define it? What do you want to add?
Oh, self-responsibility. That's where I start. Not that I have to be responsible for every little nuanced detail of the day. Self-responsibility in terms of what I bring to the table and how I bring it. And making sure that it is inclusive and that it builds space and that it does mentor so that everybody's able to move with it. You talked about that energy exchange, that high intensity, that powerful feeling, and you know it when it's there. I would like to build every interaction that I have throughout my day with that. And that's how I begin. And that starts with me. Where am I? Do I have the energy to give? If I don't, what can I do to get up that, get to that energy level so that I can be present and I can be fully who I am? And ultimately, I can love myself and share that love with the person that I'm talking with or the group that I'm speaking with.
Yeah, I really think taking responsibility for our own energy is one of those ninja moves. It feels so foundational, like, well, duh, we should all be doing that. But we're all so focused on everything else, right? That we're skipping over that sometimes. I think that's a brilliant addition. Camille, how about you? What about the definition for you in terms of how that's played out in your journey?
Yeah, the word always throws me into this idea of, I think for most people, when they hear it, you automatically think of, I'm a leader, I have people, I'm leading them. For me, it's very self-reflective, the word, this idea that to do all of these wonderful things that we are talking about, you have to be aware, not just of what's happening in the room with the people you're with, but also what's happening in here. So understanding the impact you can make, how you can make it. I think there's something about what Mitzi said about authenticity. And when I think about the playbook that people learn in business school of like how you run a company, how you show up, and then I think about all of the leaders we know and we hear about, or the products we love, what sets them apart. They stick to what they know in terms of who they are, what they firmly believe in. So when I hear crazy stories like Jeff Bezos makes people, write their ideas out in an essay form and bring it to a meeting or some, that might sound crazy to you, but think of the people who have unlocked the most amazing ideas from his method, right? And so I like to think of transformative leadership as something that's very much an inward perspective that you're sort of then shifting to bring the best out of others. And that isn't always with the things that you learn in business school. That's a lot of times with a lot of what people are now labeling soft skills, right? I guess curiosity could fall under that very easily. But it's this idea of how do you see the humanity in other people first seeing the humanity in yourself. So
Yeah,
that is how I think about it.
It's a powerful way to think about that. You're making me think also of EQ, right? First,
Yeah,
yeah,
big on that. Yeah, big on that.
All right, you guys, let's get to a little bit on self-mastery. Jean, I've got this question for you first. It's part of our subtitle, first of all, self-mastery. It's a part of the theme of transformative leadership, and we've all been on a journey. What was the thing in yourself that you had to master first?
As a leader, I had to master saying yes. I think of Shonda Rhimes' book, A Year of Saying Yes. And again, it comes to expansive understanding of the empowerment that you have from doing things differently. And for me, again, I do some travel and I'm fortunate enough to travel. And there's so much to be learned from, different continents and different individuals. And it's again, reflection upon myself. So, write down what we were saying here earlier, write down where you want to be in a year and then make the steps towards it. And I think overcoming any fear of being different, because that's what makes change.
I love that answer. There's going to be so many juicy answers to this. Mitzi, how about you? What's that one thing you had to master in yourself first?
Oh, for absolute. Learning to love the fear and learning to love the failure, because I'm learning so much more in the things that I fail in and at than I do in my successes. The successes they feel great, but it's the failure, it's the fear of the failure that kept me from doing what I've always wanted to do. And now that I've embraced it, and she's my best friend now. When I'm afraid, when I'm scared, I know that I'm doing the right thing. Like this is terrifying, but I'm loving it. I'm having a great time.
Oh, I'm so
Well,
glad. Yes.
it's
I call that purpose-driven fear. And when we have an awareness, a discernment of these different things inside, somebody in the last interview said, yeah, I'm going to get comfortable with the discomfort. It's like similar way to say that. Yeah. I love that, Mitzi.
yeah.
You don't seem terrified. You are amazing.
Oh God, I'm shaking inside.
Oh my goodness.
Thank
All right.
you.
Camille, what's that thing on your journey that you had to master first?
Absolutely, hands down, the idea of progress over perfection. So I am type A, hardwired that way. And really early in my career, had to learn that moving things along, that you pick up the ideas along the way, you learn along the way, you do all these things. But this idea that you didn't have to have it all thought out, all figured out, ready to go to show someone, to share it, to make it happen even, has been transformative, at least for me. Um, there is a term in business, where people talk about, you get the minimally viable product or thing, and you just kind of, perfect it from there. And it's a lot like that. So I have learned to, in pockets, share early and often ideas, and you'll find that other people's ideas help make things bigger, but it doesn't have to be perfect to share it. And I think self-mastery is, and part of getting over that fear Mitzi talks about, is just learning to get started, and going from there. So that was my biggest, for sure.
I love that one. It's been the same for me too. I've had the most success when I just did it imperfectly first.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
figured it out on the way, right? That's how you do that. Okay, Danny, how about you? What's that thing that you had to master first?
Yeah, and I'm probably not even, I wouldn't even say I've mastered it yet. I think it took a long time in my career to come to the realization that probably what I thought of as my greatest strength was also my greatest weakness. And that was, I went through life, have gone through life kind of wanting to be accepted, wanting people to like me, wanting to be agreeable. And that also turned out as a leader to be a weakness for me. It created situations where I hesitated to make a decision. I didn't do what needed to be done, or I didn't push people when I thought it was in the right in the right time and place to do that. And so and I've kind of come to understand that sometimes our what we think of as our greatest strength is also a weakness, and it's something that we have to balance. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just you have to come to that understanding of when does it work to help you and to help others around you, and when is it counterproductive. And so that's probably the one thing that I've learned, is that there are lots of times when I need to be, not so worried about what people think or what people are going to think of me, but I have to step out there and voice my opinion or make a decision or take an action that, I think is the right thing to do. So and I wouldn't say I've mastered it. I would say I'm working towards it, and very very aware of it as I think about my leadership style.
I love that too. I think true mastery, true masters understand that it's a lifelong journey, and that you never get to a destination of mastery. It's a process of practice. And that really is the mastery. And
Yeah.
if I had to sum mine, it would be similar to yours, and it would be the mastery of maybe this statement, talking to myself: you were born, so you're worthy. And that worthiness piece, and stepping into my worthiness always, and kind of mastering that, and little combo with imposter syndrome, stuff like that. But I love the way you're all talking about this question. If you guys are listening, rewind to those 4 golden nuggets you just heard. Maybe you're resonating like it's you too. That's been part of your journey. I love it. So we're going to close really thinking about our listeners. They're all on their journey, and they're developing their own leadership style. Mitzi, what's the most important thing you want people to know as they do that, as they develop their own style of leadership?
That it becomes a completely different kind of love. And once you have it, it never, ever leaves you.
Okay, so self-love.
Yes.
And what do you mean by completely different? Give us a taste.
It's not like the definition of what we believe, or what I grew up to believe love is. It's not unconditional. And yet it's not conditional. For me, it's just this massive emptiness that allows everything to bubble up. And it's me not getting in the way of it coming up, that allows me to know who I am and how I can move forward, in asking, what is it that I want? And how can I bring that into fruition? How can I bring that to me into my life?
Oh my gosh, you guys, these are big potato subjects here today. I love that so much, Mitzi. Thank you. Camille, for you, what's that thing you want people to know? They're on that journey, developing their leadership style. What do you think?
I think we all come into the world and move through it with, our assumptions. We make a lot of them about people, about what we think a problem is, about, many things. And I think for me, my favorite part of anything in leadership has been about, if I think back to all of any, work memories, it's always about the people, right, that I'm doing the stuff with. And so I think about curiosity as that bridge between our assumptions and the insights that get us to either solve for the problem or, build the relationship. It's really this idea that that is a tool it's one of the ways that we shift from, simply just solving problems, which is how we largely like to define business, to building, stronger, more aligned connections. And to me, if you're a leader, that's paramount. People aren't going to do this work, whatever the work might be in your organization, your company, by themselves without inspiration. They're all doing it together. And so why not create the conditions for, powerful work by making sure you deepen those connections? To me, Curiosity is the perfect tool to start to do that kind of work around. And there are no qualifiers for it, right? You don't have to have an MBA to do that. Anybody can ask a powerful question. Anybody can unlock that kind of inspiration and insight.
Yes, Camille, thank you for that. Y'all are giving me such great feels of these environments. And I know I say it a lot, but this stuff is business changing, life changing stuff. So yeah. All right, Danny, what's that one thing you want people to know as they develop their own leadership style?
Would say that we all have a gift. And this is kind of a trite saying, but the greatest gift is to be able to gift something to other people, right? And I think mentoring is a way of gifting something. Could be a hard skill or it could be a soft skill, just how you go through life and how you help others. And I think bringing that and sharing that with others is such a huge gift. And so mentoring sounds so formal, but it's really a way of gifting. And I think that's such a powerful part of being a good leader, that I would say find what that gift is, find what your passion or your skill is, and share that with others.
Thank you. I've noticed as I step into circles of people who have achieved a few more steps than I have, it's this place that you love to be, with learning the things you don't know. But I feel like the more I move into those circles, the generosity is 10x for mentorship. And I am loving that so much. And I think that is one of the marks of a leader. It's generously given from the heart, from a place of really just wanting to help people, do good in the world and have that ripple. So you're just making me think of that. Okay, Jean, you're going to close us out today on this one. What's that one thing you want people to know when they, hop on this journey of developing their own leadership style?
Everyone can lead, so you can do it. You absolutely can do it. And it's not about jumping in front of someone else's parade as it goes by, or wanting to be picked to be leading the parade. You are going to shine with your own authenticity and your open-mindedness to grow, and you'll find others are following you.
Nice. Oh my gosh, you guys are so amazing today. Thank you so much to all four of you for being here, for what you do in the world. Thanks, everyone. So, to our listeners, this is way more than a book, y'all. This is a very generous community. Maybe you heard something today that's given you the goosebumps, or you have a question about, or you're just looking for some support. Drop down into the show notes. I have all of our expert authors hooked up with their links, and they're ready to answer a question and help you take that next step on the journey. You're also invited to the book launch party. You can come party with us, celebrate with all of our authors of Transformative Leadership. That's going to be on October 3rd, and the Zoom information is down below for you. And of course, we want you to hop over to Amazon and grab your copy of this beautiful book. Lastly, today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.